What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Oscar's Cozy Corner, and welcome back to DreamSnap Diaries, the build series where I take you through my DreamSnap process from start to finish, hopefully giving you some tips and tricks along the way. This week's DreamSnap theme is Wonder in Christmas Town. This is a Nightmare Before Christmas theme. Now, Nightmare Before Christmas has been a very popular franchise for Gameloft and Disney Dreamlight Valley. They've often given us items from it. We continue to get items year after year. I suppose because it combines both Halloween and Christmas and kind of meshes them together, it does straddle that time period between the end of October and Christmas for Gameloft, so it gives them an easy way to bring that franchise into the game. As I've been taking a look at some of the community submissions this week, I am seeing a lot of Christmas and some Christmas-only snaps, not combining them because the description actually says to combine scary and merry, but I don't think that that is totally happening, which is absolutely fine. It's however you interpret the theme. But these kind of themes make me a little bit nervous when the submissions actually start to come in, because then it makes me think, okay, if voters are going to be looking just for Christmassy snaps and then they start to see scary elements in it, even though it's in the description, you don't always know what you're going to get with voting. So it might be a little bit of a wild card this week. My approach this week is to do a primarily Christmas themed snap because we are now in December, and then also just bring in a few little elements of Nightmare Before Christmas or of Halloween, perhaps some pumpkins or something like that to actually hit the theme, hit the brief, but also appeal to those voters who might just be looking for Christmas. But with all that being said, let's just jump straight into it. We're going to start with a blank canvas up on the frosted floating island, and we're going to get going. Okay, so as you can see, I'm up here on my floating island. I've already prepped my character's outfit for this challenge. I actually really love this outfit. I thought if I'm not going to do too much spooky decor, you can see that I have one of the sinister trees in the background. I do have a little pumpkin lurking around as well. In this little mood board that I usually put down, it is primarily Christmas and primarily festive because I just really like that and I'm excited to do a snap that is Christmas based. But I thought I could bring in some of that, I guess, spooky element in through my outfit. So I've gone with that sanguine ensemble for this one. I've also changed the hair color and I've got a nice little kind of like peppermint mini ears, I suppose, on to bring in those Christmases. And then I've gone with the red and green for my makeup to try and tie in with the rest of the background, because I think if I went with a different makeup and I didn't go with green, it would actually feel a little bit disjointed. But the fact that there's a red trim on the dress itself and then the green hair, the green eye makeup, etc., really brings that color story together, and you know I love a color story. But jumping on into furniture mode, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this lovely Christmas town hall that was in the premium shop last week. I'm not a huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan. I do like it. I think it's a great movie and I love the idea. I like the aesthetic, but it's not something I like cling on to from my childhood. However, I do think that a lot of the items translate really nicely into the game, this one included. So that's going to be our centerpiece and our anchor, as we usually do in the middle of the snap. And then I'm going to have a little path coming out of it. So that path, I'm going to actually make the cobblestone path this time around, because I think it's a little bit warmer than the others and it has a little bit more of a richness to it. So we're just going to bring that out all the way down and then back. And then we can center the house to that path. And one day I might try something different with my DreamSnap builds, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And a lot of the time, I'm just trying to get 4,000 moonstones so I can buy the stuff in the premium shop. So I don't like to take too many risks with DreamSnap. So I've got a little bit of a formula going. If you've watched these in the past, you will know that. But, you know, if it's working, why change it? But anyway, that's digressing a little bit. We're going to pop that right in the center, just like that. And I'm thinking of doing this snap in the evening because I want the lights to come on and I want it to have like a really rich, warm light color. So that's the plan. I know all of these windows light up, which is perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some of these actual like twirling items. I don't know what they're called. Carousels. I can't remember the exact name of them, but they've got the different animals on them. I think they're actually meant to be... Yeah, I wasn't sure whether they were meant to be like made out of wood. I think the walrus is made out of wood, but you can see this spins. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete that for now. I'm going to go into the furniture menu and I'm just going to filter by Nightmare Before Christmas, because a little tip, definitely not in paths, but a little tip with the mini carousel, when you're in furniture mode and you haven't come out of it, it doesn't activate yet, so it doesn't actually start spinning. So the reason I'm telling you this is because you can actually rotate it if you do want to do symmetry, and you can have them facing opposite ways, just like that. So when you come out of furniture mode, they start at the same time. So when you take the picture, you can get them to line back up like that. That is a very minor detail that most people are not going to notice. I notice it. So it's just a little tip for you to get them to stop spinning, because they do have an interact button on them, but the interaction just turns off those little string lights on top. It does not stop the animation. So you can actually get it symmetrical as long as you do them in furniture mode at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place them just on the edge of this building. So you'll see here, just like that, one tile off, just where you can already start building that slight symmetry to the snap. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in these grand Christmas trees, or these, I think it's grand holiday cheer or something along those lines. The only thing that really kind of like bugs me with this particular Christmas tree is the footprint is not quite square, because that box on the bottom right kicks out. So it makes it have this little outlet on the side of it. Not massive issue, but when you're rotating it, it can be a little bit of a pain for decorating if you end up with it facing on the inside and you want to put something next to it. But for this one, we'll just make sure that it's on the outside, and I'm just going to line that right up to the center of there, just so we've got a nice little framing to the snap, just like that. I'm going to grab my trusty little fir tree, this blue one with a tiny little shadow, which is actually not showing up at all because I think it's around midday in the game. So sometimes stuff loses its shadow around then because the sun is obviously highest in the sky, but this is not a science lesson or a geography lesson. Not sure which one that counts as. I'm going to actually bring this path out a little bit more, and we're just going to play with the camera framing. I know we're zooming in again, but if we actually had a zoom feature, I wouldn't need to do this every time we do a snap. But for this one, we will roll with the punches. So let me come out of furniture mode, and we're going to run over here, make sure that we're in the right spot. And then we're just going to start working out where that framing needs to be. Grab the camera, jump right into it. Actually, that's not a million miles away from where I was thinking of having it anyway. So let me bring it down a little bit. See if we can get some more of these trees in the frame. I kind of want those stars to be touching the top of the frame, so they may end up needing to come across a little bit. And actually, what I think I'm going to do is, if we see where this has an inlet on the top, obviously we're hitting the red right there. I'm going to bring this all the way across to there and then down one. So it's kind of sat in that section. So I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. And that just brings it a little bit closer to that town hall. And you can see, because we came out of furniture mode, these are now spinning around, but you can still get the snap at the symmetrical view if you want it. And then I can just recenter these trees, because these actually come with a nice little line on as guidance. Well, it's not as guidance, it's just the way they're made, but I use it as guidance. So we're going to place that there. And then I think maybe we bring the tree a little bit closer. Now I'm in the tree, but we're going to grab our camera again and just see if that works. Okay, I think the actual camera framing can come back. So the tree can come back, so we can fit more of the stuff in the frame. And I think we're just about there. Yeah, something like that for now is fine. We often can't see this building in the background, and I have had comments before saying you can't really see the building you place down, and I know that. I just like using it as a space filler essentially, and it just gives me an anchor to do the rest of the build. So I know that sometimes you can't always see that building, and sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not, but I just like having the option there of having that anchor in the center to allow me to build the rest of the build out of it. This is going to be quite a gift heavy snap, because I just feel like those are some of the really useful items we have in the game. They're a little bit smaller and they can fill in space, but also it's very Christmassy. So I do have some of the gifts lying around over here. We've got a little bundle of them and then some separate ones. I also want these sleighs, and I was thinking these sleighs could actually maybe fill in kind of like a gap down this area, because they're not too high. I don't mind that it comes onto the path. So something kind of like that, just so it's got that nice little angle pointing towards the character. And actually, I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to bring over these fun candy cane posts. And I'm just going to place them either side of this building, just like that. They don't make a massive difference, but I think they're quite cute. I think we need to go. Do we need to go out one tile? No, that's correct. Yeah, that looks fine. They're going to light up, so they're going to blend in with that house as well, because there is a lot of light emanating from that house when you go to evening mode. And I'm also thinking that it could be fun to bring in these little gingerbread chairs just in the right angle, so they kind of look like gingerbread decorations rather than actual seats. We might need to tweak the placement of those to actually achieve that effect, but I'm just thinking from the camera point of view, if we get it quite right with the sleighs covering the bottom half, it will look like big gingerbread decorations instead, which I like. I might even bring one of these out either side, so I'm just going to rotate it all the way around. And I'm just going to bring one out on both sides of that house as well. Just like that, just to fill in that space. But we are going to be using some trees as well, of course, to fill out that background. Coming on over here, there's not that many items left, really. What can I say? I don't tend to use that many items in my snaps. I know that I've done builds previously where there's a lot of items in it, but sometimes I think you can get away with it not using buckets and buckets of items. So I'm going to grab these nice festive lampposts as well, because I just really like the wreaths on these. And I'm going to try and find somewhere to put these, maybe just over the top of this sleigh. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know what is hitting the red there. I think it's the center of the sleigh. Just those 4 little tiles. That's a shame. Maybe I can get it to go out the back. Okay, if we get the correct rotation, it does go out the back of the sleigh. Ah, there we go. Yeah, I just kind of wanted that. I just kind of wanted that wreath hanging over the top of the sleigh, and I think that looks really effective. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab it, and then I'm going to rotate it all the way around. And we're just going to try and come across directly to where that spot was, which I think was as close as we can get to that carousel. It is. So then it's kind of centered over the top of that sleigh. Let's take a look at that in actual camera mode, see how we're getting on there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm actually going to move myself closer, and I'm going to move the tree a little bit closer. Maybe about there. Because like I said, I want those stars touching the top of the frame. Kind of like that, actually. That's already looking quite good. You get a little bit of those candy cane posts. You can't really see the ones down the sides, which is fine. Maybe I could bring them up into this section. We'll give that a try. Because they only take up 2 by 2, which is really handy. So I could just place them 1, 2, 3 rotated in that area. And then the other one just there. Because you can actually get quite close to that sleigh. I think that's about the same on both sides. I'm going to rotate it all the way around. Because I wanted the actual candy cane to go wonky on that way. Although it blocks the wreath a little bit. You know what? They can go. They can go. We don't need them. We don't need them anyway. I do have Jack's little Christmas tree here. I believe this is Jack's Christmas tree anyway from one of his quests. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and find somewhere maybe right in front of the sleigh. Kind of like that. On both sides. And then I'll rotate it just to make sure that it's reflected nicely. I think that could work. It might need to go out a little bit. Let's do... Actually, let's do 1 tile out. Away from that edge of the path. Yeah, that's already looking very Christmassy at the least. I do also have these candy cane posts over here, or this candy cane fence. Now, this is super Christmassy. I wish this was a proper fence, not a furniture fence where each piece counts as one, and I wish we could just click and drag it. But this is such a fun fence in the game, and I'm thinking of maybe putting it in front of the tree, just sort of like that. Maybe getting as close as we can on that front, and then possibly going to there. I need to see how that looks, because these are quite tall, and I don't want it to be too overpowering. But actually, I think that gives it a real nice framing. Like, especially for that tree. So what I might do is I might actually knock them across. Maybe the one on the right across a little bit, and then the one behind my camera a little bit. Because you can see here, it's a little bit too far across. So I'm just going to make sure that's not the case again. I'm going to bring it down and then down one. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to bring it across and then down. I believe that those are in line now. Let's see how that looks. Okay, I moved too far across. But actually, I think that still works because it looks like a single candy cane now rather than two. And it's not too overpowering. So I'm going to leave those where they are. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in these lovely little Christmas rugs. I love these rugs. These are so festive to me. I just absolutely adore them. And I'm going to place one on either side. Just like that. So Jack's Christmas tree is not quite on it, but the presents are. And it just adds a nice green to the floor, obviously tying in that color story of the tree and my hair. And there's obviously green in the other elements as well. And I think if I grab these little, I think these are Yule goats or something along those lines. I am not 100% sure what these are called. I think they're straw goats. I'm not sure if they're for another holiday other than Christmas. Somebody can correct me on that. I've not seen them before, at least not in real life, but I'm sure that they are meaningful to something. So I'm just going to bring those in because they are kind of Christmassy, or they're at least in the Christmas crafting section at the very least. So I'm going to plop those in as well. And then I think it would be cute if we had maybe some candles over the top of the sleigh, but I don't think that's going to let me do it. No, the back of the sleigh. For some reason, that is the blocker on the grid of the sleigh. But I think we can find a place to put these in, whether it's just in front of it, touching the edge like that. So then I can bring this one right the way across and keep that in place as well. Just so we've got, I don't know, these candles do kind of remind me of Halloween. So I can't say that's the spooky element that I'm bringing in, but you know, I guess that's the spooky element that I'm bringing in. I'm also going to come over here, grab some of these snowy paths just straight away, and I'm going to put some of these down. I'm going to start with one just running up the center to the back of the house, just like that. Not for much more than other than having a little bit more snow on top of it and giving us a little bit more texture, but it does quite blend with that path, but that's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to bring in some of these presents over here. And we're just going to start finding a way to place these down that is not too obstructive. So something like that, I think, works. Just like that. And then we've also got the individual presents as well, which we can drop into any space that we need to. So maybe one there, maybe one there. And then I could also grab this again. And then just bring that in kind of like that. Or maybe we rotate these ones and have them. Oh, that's exactly the same as the one above it. So I will not be having that. Something like that could work. And then maybe something. Bring that across. Something like that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, let's see how that looks. See if we're filling out the frame enough. I think I need to be a little bit closer. Okay, definitely getting there. Definitely filling that frame. Those presents feel all a little bit too intermingled, and I've blocked that goat. I think it's a goat. So we're going to tweak that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move maybe a batch of presents up next to the tree, up in that space on both sides. Hopefully there's room over here. I think I have a spot right there, although that looks a little bit busy, but I'll have to do for now. I think maybe I fill in that gap just with a present here as well, just like that. And I don't know if I need one up here, but I can fit one in. And then I think maybe we have them coming out. So like maybe we have them coming out that way. So I'm going to drop one in right about there. I'm going to drop another one in kind of like in that position. Then I can have one of these on the edge of the path. Just like that. Actually more like that. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to bring this goat over and rotate it. I'm actually going to rotate it the other way so it faces backwards. I just had a sneeze that never came. Those are the worst. But we are still working on this present section. So I'm going to bring in... I'm actually going to see if I can get them relatively close to my character. Or a little bit closer. So maybe one here. And then maybe one about there. I think that might work. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find something else. But I'm just looking at that and I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to zip back over here and see what else we've got. I do have these little pumpkins, which I do want to bring in. So actually, I feel like they should be a feature because these kind of remind me of Jack. So as long as those are visible, I will be happy with that. And if we have space, I guess we could even put in some more pumpkins. We also need to make room for the lights because these lights do look great up on the floating islands. They do have a much better glow than they do in the valley. So these don't really matter where they go. You just kind of want to make sure that they are as hidden as they can be. So sometimes that means finding the right spot for them. Even if the top of them is visible this time around, I don't mind too much because it kind of feels like they almost belong in a way, just with the aesthetic that we've got going on. So I'm just going to rotate those to make sure they all face the same way. And I'm going to drop one in. Let's drop one in this space behind Jack's tree as well. To make sure we've got a nice little glow. We might even put some more in, but we'll take a look in the evening when we swap over. And then I've also got these red flowers, these beautiful, I think they're silk flowers or something from Wish Blossom Ranch. Now, these look like ribbons to me. These look like ribbons and they look like bows, which is actually what caught my eye and what drew me to using them. So I'm going to just place those in some of the gaps we have available, which is one here. And then if I grab another one, we've also got some space possibly there, possibly up here. I'm still looking at that and thinking I might be able to fit one in a little closer to home at the front. But for now, let's do these four. And I've got it in that gap right there. Just like that. Let's see how this looks. That's very close to the camera, isn't it? All right, I'm a little bit close, to be perfectly honest. That's not where I want it to be. But I think we're getting there. Let's see how it looks at evening time with those lanterns coming on. So they offer a lot of light. That might actually be too much light, so we may need to move those a little bit further out away from the items, because what happens if you put those Vitalis lamps right against stuff, it creates a lovely glow, but it creates a very, very bright glow. And this is too close to the camera. No bueno. I've changed on over to evening mode so you can see that in action. So you can see that these lamps are creating definitely some warm glow, but definitely a little bit too much of a glow. So I'm actually going to move these out just for now. Maybe one up towards this area in front of that gingerbread person, and then one up there as well. So that lights that bit up a sec as well. And then I think I actually need to bring everything forward. I think the problem I'm having is everything just feels too bunched up further back. So I'm going to bring everything down, including these gifts. So let's do that. Bring that across a little bit. Bring that down to about there. And then bring that down and across as well. And then I could put this gift on the other side. We could have maybe... Actually, no, we can keep that there. Maybe I'll just bring this gift down to the side of that instead. Kind of like that. And then maybe the light goes across and behind the gift instead. Something like that feels a little bit better. And then I feel like I'm missing a gift, so I'm going to duplicate that one and bring that across to that Yule goat as well. And I think maybe I just add some extra gifts on each side. Kind of like that. Let's see how that looks. That feels a little bit better. I'm also having that annoying bug. They got rid of it for a while. When you came out of furniture mode or you came out of camera mode, it would bump the avatar out of the spot, so you have to find the spot every single time. That is back, and it's driving me absolutely insane, to be honest. Let's take a look. Okay, that feels full. That feels a lot fuller. I'm going to run myself. Actually, no. I'm going to bring the tree closer to me. So I'm going to bring the tree a little bit closer to about there. And then I'm going to move a little bit closer, and we should be hitting the right notes. There we go. Okay, that feels better. That feels good. Those stars are in the right place. The Christmas trees are in the right place. I'm happy with how everything is looking on the ground level for the time being. So I think maybe we can go on to adding some of the trees in the background just to fill out that top space and get rid of that blue willow on the left, because I don't want to be seeing any blue. I want everything to be red and green. But it's looking good. In terms of the trees, I have a couple of options here. I've got this sinister one. Now, I thought this would be perfect for this big standout section right here. And then duplicated on the other side, just like that. I thought that brings a little bit of spook in. And then I thought we could fill in the gaps that you see, so you can see down the side of that. So I'm just going to place this tree right behind it to fill in that little space there. You can see, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Kind of like that. Just using the grid as an assist. So that's nice and full, nice and red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this other one and then just place this on the other side of it. So I'm just going to rotate that so it faces forward. And I'm just going to place that on the other side. So we've got a few branches coming out there as well. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it over here and do exactly the same thing. Just like that. So you can see a nice little bit of space filling going on. I'm actually going to rotate that 180 just so it's nice and symmetrical. You know. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab these big red maples. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place these just on the outskirts. Kind of like that. I'm going to do another one on this side. I don't need to be perfect with these ones because they're in the background, so you don't really notice too much. And I'm going to do this one as well on that other side, kind of about there. But I might need to move them across or back a little bit because you can see that they are blocking my sinister, scary trees. So I might need to move them back a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these back. I'm going to pull these back. So all I want them to do is just be in the background as a little bit of color. They don't have to do or serve any other purpose other than that. But I think that looks good framing wise. And I think if I bring that across, you can see the tower looking from the center. That's about even spacing now. So I'm pretty happy with how that is looking too. And I think we might nearly be there. I am going to do some lighting tricks this time behind the camera. So I'm going to do my usual light up of the avatar. So I'm going to do 6 lights to give us a nice glow. And then on top of that, I'm going to grab this beautiful orchard table. And I like using this one because it's actually a little bit slimmer. It's got that teeny tiny little base to it. And it's also got the teeny tiny little leg. So you can do that, and then you can pop one of these Vitalis lamps on there, just like that. And it also gives an additional glow to your character, which I will show you in just a second. But I am also going to grab some fireworks because I think we'll have an effect on this snap, because why not? So if you look here, you can see that I've got the glow from the lights, which is great. It does drown quite a lot out, so I actually think I'm going to go with 2 instead, because I still want to be able to see those gingerbread outlines. And then I've got this lamp here, but if I come out of furniture mode, you'll see that it added a nice little glow to the floor. So when I come back into camera, right behind my character, it's got not only the taller glow, which is kind of like encroaching on the building, but it's also got this beautiful glow just on the floor as well, which I think can actually come closer to us. It feels a little bit far away. So I'm going to bring this all the way down here and see how that looks, because we do just want it to be like right behind us. I'm just going to bring myself a little bit closer to that camera. Oh, that's a little bit too close, so we're gonna back up just a little bit. I'm actually gonna move the tree back by 1. And then we're gonna take a look and see how that actually ends up looking. There we go. So a nice little glow behind the character, a glow from everything else, which is looking absolutely fantastic. And then if I go over here and I hit the activate visual effects button, you'll see that those fireworks do go off and they start to create a really nice sparkle in the sky. So you can just wait a little bit, see what you like. They do tend to do exactly the same routine every time. So if you see a spot or a section that you like, just try and remember how far in it is, and then you know to take a picture. But I think that looks pretty good. The only thing that I'm thinking of adding, which you can see that I have down here, just to add a little bit of glow to the floor, because I haven't done that yet, is adding some pixie dust. So this has a really tiny grid. I'm not even sure if it's like 1 tile, but you can place that wherever you want, pretty much. And it does go under other items. I just thought it'd be quite cute to have this on the floor as a little glow as well. So just like that, you can see that it creates a nice warm glow, and it's actually got kind of like pixie dust sparkles on it. So if I do that and I activate the visual effects, we end up with a little bit of sparkle at top, a little bit of sparkle at the bottom. And then I think we've got enough mix of very Christmassy, but also a little tiny bit of spook with the outfit, floating candles, the scary trees, and the pumpkin. So let me show you the final shot, show you what we came up with, and fingers crossed, we're on for a winner again this week. Well, I say winner. I've never come first, but 4,000 Moonstone winner at least. All right, gang, that is it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed that build, and I hope you enjoyed another installment of DreamSnap Diaries. I really love how that snap turned out. I really love the Christmas elements. We really leaned into the festive vibe, but with a couple of little spooky or Halloween-y adjustments just to make sure we are hitting that brief. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Maybe give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We'd love for you to be part of our Oscar's Cozy Corner. But with all that being said, I am going to leave it there for today. The update is coming next week. Very exciting, lots of new stuff on the way, lots of goodies. But for now, I will catch you in the next one, and I will, of course, see you in the valley.